And away we go. Okay. So, what are we building today, Roy?
We're building this courthouse. County Courthouse. DPM Woodland Scenics.
And you're doing both
in scale.
Well, or are you going to do...
I'm doing in scale for the series, but I also have the HO scale one that I'll build on my own on the side. And I'll share it occasionally, but I'm not going to show building that one or painting that one. But I have gone ahead and cleaned up and cut out the main building pieces of mine. I washed them and cleaned up the sprue connections just for the main building pieces, because that's all I think we'll work on tonight.
Right. Okay.
And my plan, hopefully tonight, is to prime these pieces with the airbrush, and then once they're primed, clean up the joints where they glue together and attempt to glue these pieces together.
Right.
And if we don't get it all done during this stream talk, I'll do clips, kind of similar to how James did it for Ray.
Yeah.
I'll record some clips of me doing some of these pieces, and we can insert them into the video and I'll end up editing the video. So.
Right. Okay.
So I can do that. And
I haven't watched any of my stuff yet, so I might catch up with you on the next thing that we shoot. So because I was going to follow along with you while you were doing it. So.
Okay, cool. I mean, you could like work on cleaning off the sprue connection points if there are any and stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I've got now I got some of this stuff here. This I got when my daughter was working at a wholesale beauty.
Looks like this, right?
Yeah, and it's it was 180. It's 180 on one side, and the other side is like 200 or something. Yeah, those were great. I got a bunch of stuff, you just kind of... I walked around the store and just kind of looked randomly, and you find those things.
Yeah, I got a little set of sanding sticks from Amazon. There's like 6 of them, and each one of them is slightly finer. And they have their own numbering scheme, because this one that I have here is 1500. But
that's pretty fun.
But it's really kind of like around 200 or 250 of sandpaper grits.
Oh yeah.
But it goes up from here up to like 8 or 10,000 or something.
Yeah.
And if you do them in sequence, you can end up with some really polished looking bits.
Yeah, I bet.
But that's what I use the 1500 is the most coarse one of these, and it works pretty good on these models to clean up the sprue edges.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of a not very coarse, you have to work a little bit at it. But I found that it seems like the edges come out a little cleaner.
Yeah.
Like it leaves the edge where the sprue was connected a little cleaner because you're doing a finer grain.
Right.
So I'm going to switch over to my other camera and get my airbrush filled up with some primer, and you can keep working on that.
All right. Sounds good. Now, what type of primer do you use?
I got the same stuff that Rick showed and mentioned. It's a set of 3. I just pulled out the white because that's what I'm going to use.
Oh yeah, another question, because using airbrush, because I have not really started into it yet. What air pressure are you using?
So I've been watching a guy called Airbrush Asylum, and that's his. Yeah, and So he has two basic recommendations. One is if you're using uh, typically thinned paint that's roughly about 50-50, or a lot of the airbrush paints come approximately at this level, then he
Right.
recommends using a higher pressure, like 25 to 30,
Yeah.
or maybe even a little higher depending on how thick it is. Um, and then if you thin it really thin, which he actually prefers,
Yeah.
uh, then you run at like 18 to 20 psi,
Right.
because the thinner paint will flow more easily at lower pressure. And
Yeah.
he's an artist, like he does airbrush paintings, and so he
Yeah.
wants all that super fine control. Whereas I'm just going for coverage, so I use the higher
Yeah.
pressure and have the paint not as thin. Because when it's thinner, you also have to do more coats.
More coats. Yeah.
Yeah, more passes to get it to be as thick.
Right. Right.
Anyway, let's put in some paint. Yeah, decent amount because I'm going to be doing quite a bit.
Yeah.
This is already pretty thin. Rick said he uses it straight up.
Yeah.
I'm adding a couple of drops of the flow improver.
Now, do you prefer the cup style or like the siphon method of
So
siphon?
so I've only got I've got both types, but
Yeah.
the Airbrush Asylum guy has a pretty good video about the difference between the two. And the main reason you'd want to use siphon fed, according to him, is when you want a larger amount of paint.
Right.
Because you're going to do like a really large coverage or a really large piece.
Yeah.
And the other thing is if you're constantly switching between colors, it can be slightly easier if it's in the siphon fed, because you can just you keep multiple of the bottles that attach,
Yeah.
and you take off the one with the paint and you put one in that has some cleaner, and you run the cleaner through it for a few seconds to clean out the previous color and then put in a
Yeah.
new color. But he only recommends that for not fine detail work where you're worried about the
Yeah.
colors mixing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But gravity fed is generally easier to do.
Right.
Um,
I haven't tried that yet. So I went the El Cheapo method just in case I didn't really get into the airbrushes so much.
right.
I think I spent $30 on my both airbrushes. I mean, one, got them from Harbor Freight,
Mm,
and I've only used the siphon one, and so far I like how that one works. I've figured out how to work that one pretty good, and I want to do the other one because you have more control and how you do your details and stuff. So
yeah, I think the main thing with gravity. So the other difference between siphon fed and gravity fed is the angles you can paint at.
yeah,
So with the siphon fed, you can't really paint like up or down very well because
yeah,
the tube
yeah,
has
because
to be
it goes away from the tube. Yeah, exactly.
right. Whereas
Yeah,
gravity fed, because of the way that the angle is at, it still works at pretty steep angles up, and
yeah,
it works just fine painting downward. Um, and since I mostly paint down into my booth,
yeah.
gravity fed is a little easier for me. But
Right.
anyway, I'm set up over there, so I'm gonna
Okay.
attempt to start priming.
All right, let's see how this works out.
Yeah. I tend to make a mess. You can see that there's lots of leftover paint on from my last project, the Jack build that I did.
Yeah.
And then these smaller pieces are probably going to blow away on me. So I'm gonna put a little bit of blue tape.
Tape down, yeah.
Because I don't really care about getting the primer on the back as much because I'm going to use the black on that.
Yeah.
Here we go. Sorry about the compressor noise. Kind of do thin coats. I don't want to lose the details.
Right.
In the brickwork and stuff has some pretty fine details. If I put too much paint on there, it'll get lost.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's that one. At least coat number 1 for that one. Set that one aside. This next one. Make sure it actually sticks. When I edit the video, I'll tone down the compressor sound. I want to drive people nuts with that.
Well, it's not doing too bad in spots. I mean, when you start going, it's kind of, now there it's a little bit loud, but as you keep going, it kind of goes down.
Yeah, I think the noise attenuation from StreamYard is helping a little bit once it's once it's going. Does it work? So those 2 little pieces are effectively done. Let's try this one. See if I can. Yeah, there we go. Start over here. Double check that I'm not. Oh, plenty of paint. I'm not sure I'm going to paint it all 3 sides.
All right.
Well, I can set it down this.
Oh, yeah, there you
Kind of get the up under the eaves and stuff.
Yeah. Now, how long do you usually let these dry between coats of paint?
Um, Acrylic dries really fast unless you make it super ultra thin. And
Yeah,
even actually super ultra thin dries really fast. It's if you have it too thick, not thin
right.
enough, then it takes longer to dry because you end up with a thicker coat.
Yeah,
The main thing I'm having to do here though is that I have to, because of all the weird nooks and crannies, I have to hit it from different angles
yeah.
to get into all of them.
I'll remember that.
Probably not coming through on the camera real well because we're going from a light gray to a white,
Yeah,
but I can see it here in person.
yeah. I can. I saw the change.
Yeah, yeah, you can see it. It's just that it's not as dramatic as like when I was painting black the other day on that other piece,
Yeah.
or the dark colors and stuff. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna wait to paint that front one because I want to lay it on that side.
Yeah.
Get these other. Sometimes you have to hold it.
Now that doesn't put out enough to really cover your hands, does it?
No, you just get like a light misting on your hands if you stick them in there.
Yeah.
The other thing you got to watch out for is when you're spray painting a lot, you'll get tip drying, which is where you get paint drying on the little flicky bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you gotta get in there and clean it off, which is why I paint with this little front piece, this little thing that's normally on there. I leave
Oh
that
yeah.
off. I leave that off because you can see there's already a little bit of paint on there. I can just go over. I can go over here with my cloth that has a little bit of alcohol in it, and clean it off. And so now I have a clean tip again.
Right.
And the paint will flow out a little better. Almost done with these three sides.
tricky part, huh?
Well, I realized that I need to paint the upper part of the inside of the roof.
Oh yeah.
Because it's above the roof, so it's going to get painted some darker color.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we can do the front, but I got to get it from multiple angles.
Yeah.
Back is probably dry enough that it's not going to get messed up too badly by laying this down. I gotta go back to this previous one because I gotta paint that
Oh, paint the same area, yeah.
that part of the roof that's, well, it's not the roof, but
Yeah. Oops.
I think I'm just gonna have to hold this one. The way I hold this thing, I need to get a different, I need to teach myself a different grip because I keep popping the quick release off.
Oh yeah.
Just looking at this to see if there's any missed spots. Just a little bit. Just realized I've been doing all this and I didn't have the fume or paint extractor stuff turned on.
Yeah.
But it's not that big a deal when you're dealing with this stuff because it's not a lacquer or a,
right.
you know. And this room is big and I've got the fan on, so
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about it. Okay. One more piece to paint. And then this one. Okay. Oh, I should do the roof too. And I'm only doing the outside in this white primer.
Yeah.
One of the things I notice is when you start seeing how it's all uneven.
Yeah.
That's a good indicator that you've got some tip drying to clean off. Because it doesn't give you a nice wide spread as well.
Yeah, I can see the difference.
Plus, you have to do quite a few coats because I'm doing it's a 0.35 needle, so it doesn't have a super wide spread. The roof has, it's going to get a dark color on it anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not a big deal. messed up a little bit on there. I got it pulled up a little bit too much in a couple spots. I'm just going to wipe it off and repaint those parts.
Yeah. County Courthouse.
Still not doing super great on this roof, but lay it on super thick everywhere.
Yeah.
And sand it afterwards. You can do really fine grit sanding, and then once it's dried, do another coat, and that'll even it out.
Yeah.
I did the same thing on my roof for the other building.
Oh.
That the building I did for Jack's contest.
Yeah. Oh.
It had a big sheet of roof, and when you're trying to paint it, it's like hard to get it really even.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like a smooth, flat surface, so the paint just sort of runs around on it.
Right. Yeah.
And but I just put on a lot, and then once it dries, like late tonight or tomorrow morning, I can go over it with a super fine sandpaper. I think I have some like 800 or 1,000 grit.
Yeah.
And sand off the thick parts of the paint.
Yeah.
And then just do another light coat over top of that.
Yeah.
So I've got to wait for those to dry for a little bit.
All right.
So what I was going to talk about a little bit is just it seems like everyone has a different opinion about put it together first, paint it after, or paint it first, put it together second. And most of the, so I watch a bunch of different model builders that aren't necessarily model railroad people,
Right.
but they do scale model scratch builds and kit builds and stuff.
Yeah.
And some of them build everything up and then primer the whole thing and then paint the colors after, like they'll have the entire thing built.
Yeah.
Including most of the details, and then just primer the whole thing. And then paint different pieces of it. And then some of them do like what I just did, where they'll primer it or they'll put a base coat of paint, and then assemble it, and then do the detail painting and the washes and the weathering on top of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
So are you going to attempt to use your airbrush on this build?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I want to do that. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, my stuff's all right for the wash, so I can get it washed up, and then I can fire up the. I probably won't be able to do that until maybe Saturday. I
You
don't
want
know.
to say something about what you're planning to do with yours?
Mine, when I get done, and we're gonna do a. I'm gonna do a giveaway where we're gonna do a giveaway at the end. Some of us are gonna give these things away, and I don't have space to put this,
Right.
so I'm gonna build it and give it away, and hopefully I'll do a bang up job on it.
Yeah. Well, based on what I've seen from your previous builds, you've done some good stuff, so I think it'll come out good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
And I also plan to give away the N scale one.
Yeah.
On mine. So the next week on the show, it's going to be Rick and Nisi.
Yes.
And Nisi is also doing N scale, so it'll be interesting to see how she goes about her build.
Right.
And she's even more of a noob than I am as far as the kit building. This is like technically my second and a half build. Whereas my understanding is Nisi hasn't done any. So Rick's got his hands full.
Yeah. Well, it should be fun. I mean, you know, that's what it's all about, is having a lot of fun doing all this.
Oh, yeah.
And plus, you know, we're learning things as we go along. I know. I mean, you've got the airbrush tips right there with the glob of paint on the end of your airbrush there that you need to clean it off, and you know, you got to keep an eye on that kind of thing.
And so, like the, I wish I remember the guy's name on Airbrush Asylum. I'm not sure if he ever says it all the time, but he says even when you're doing it completely correctly, if you're doing a lot, you're always going to get a little bit of what he calls tip drying.
Yeah.
Where paint will dry on the little needle that goes in and out, and when it dries on there, it restricts the flow and you don't get as much paint. Right. And then it also once a little bit is dried on there, it'll tend to pool on there a little bit, and then the next time you turn the air on, you'll get a little bit of splatter.
Yeah.
Right. And so you'll kind of mess up your painting.
Right. Exactly.
Which is partially what happened with my roof.
Very important. Yeah.
I went too long and got a little bit of splatter, and that created a couple of pools.
Yeah.
But I'll get it sorted out. Like I said, I'll sand it. It'll be good.
All right.
Okay, guys. We're going to glue this together using my little tray. Make sure the roof still fits in there when it's pushed here. And then we got our Tamiya glue. We're just going to put, actually, I'm going to use some magnets here to make sure these things stay in place. Okay. More over here. Now, put a little bit of this on there. Start with just the two joints. Then go up the seam. Let that sit for a minute. while it is, I'll make sure the roof still fits in, and it does. And just so you can see, I did manage to get the roof to have a pretty nice even coat after the goofing up with the too much paint. So the next step for this one is actually put the roof in. So let's get these out of the way. And then let go. Oh, this didn't stick. Must not have had them pressed together very well. So what happens, stuck at the top but not at the bottom. I think it's because the plastic is slightly uneven, so it wasn't really close enough together at the bottom. Okay, now we can put the roof in. And then I'll use a couple of these magnets to set it on, because the roof is inset. Turn this around. Putting a little downward pressure on the spots I just put the glue on. Come back, put a little bit more on this side. Okay, rotate around so I can get at this other side a little better. A little more pressure. Okay. So we got the primary part of the building. Now we got these little pieces. And these ones have little tabs that I cleaned off the paint of already. And this one goes in this corner. And the reason they had to put the roof on was because these have a little lip that go over, it's not open like the other two pieces. So this one I'm just gonna hold with my hand, and then there's the openings here. I'm gonna put the glue on the tabs and then just hold this in place for a minute or for a second with some pressure till that solvent evaporates and creates the bond. Okay, and now I can put a little bit down here in the seams. Okay, and then a little bit more brusher. So there's that one glued in. You can see that seam, so I'll probably end up painting in there. When it's got the dark colors, that won't be as visible. So then we got this last piece here that just fits in this gap, and you have to hold it because it's kind of a weird angle and I can't really make it stay there any other way. So I gotta do this weird little grip on it. I tried this out before they were all done, before they were all painted and everything, just to plan this step out. So I'm just gonna put a little bit on the bottom of both sides here, and then hold that angle on the two of them. Hopefully you can see this. Oh, I didn't. I think I had them too far apart when I put the glue in the seam, so I'll have to get the grip again and add a little more. So we'll go in here and in here. And then do that again. There we go. Now it's holding at the bottom. So now I can sort of turn it around a little and put some more in these other seams. Or the other half of the seams anyway. And then hold those together. And I realized I've messed up the paint a little bit in a couple spots, but it's just the primer, so it's not a big deal. But there we go. There's one little spot there. I think some of the solvent leaked through. I'll just touch that up. But there we go. We have it all glued, the main structure glued together. You can see all these little holes all over the place. Those are for the detail parts. They just fit into these holes. Like right here, there's a porch that fits into this little notch, and then there's an awning thing that is over top of this that fits into there. Similarly over here, there's a little porch and a overhang. And then the roof has all kinds of stuff on it. And then the back of the building over here is all kinds of like drain pipes and whatnot that fit into these little holes. But you'll see those in the future. Anyway, there we go with the gluing together the main structure. And hopefully y'all enjoyed this video today. And I will catch you later.